outer microclimates, also using EnviMet simulations for the combined special climatic options.
Hello, everyone. Advance apologies if I end up choking my throat because it's not in a good condition, but I hope to go smooth. So, today I'm going to present a study which is part of the Cooling Singapore project, where we are trying to assess the impact of urban densification on outdoor microclimate using InvMed simulations for different spatial climatic options. So, just to set up the context, that Singapore is a highly urbanized city state. It has very high population density. The existing urban planning guidelines don't really consider microclimatic dimensions at the building or site planning level, but they do have some broad level urban development strategies that take into consideration the greening and cooling mechanisms. So we conducted a review last year, and if you are more interested to read about what exact research we did, you can scan the QR code. Um, I'll just wait here for 10 seconds and then I'll move to the next slide. So our research questions are pretty much aligned with understanding the impact of urban densification on annual microclimate variation of a site using a combined spatial climatic design approach. And we are also trying to understand how to utilize such spatial climatic design data to develop urban design recommendations through a visual assessment. So we did this particular work in a 7-step methodology. So the first step is about studying the building bylaws. The second step is designing building footprints with respect to that. And these buildings are predominantly the residential buildings. Thirdly, once we have the building footprints ready, we are developing some hypothetical site options complying with all the urban planning and site planning guidelines, such as floor area ratio and gross plot ratio, etc. Further, we are using some weather condition to perform some environment simulations. So now the weather condition that we used is something interesting, and I'm going to explain that in a subsequent slide. And once we have the simulation results ready, we are analyzing those results to understand what are the high heat stress zones within a particular site, as well as what are the high heat stress hours. And followed by that, at the last stage, we are formulating some sort of guidelines which can give you better idea about how to design a heat responsive site and how to include the decisions of where to place the urban street furnitures or tree or something like that in order to enhance shading. So in the first stage, as I mentioned, Singapore doesn't really have any concrete definition of urban density, but it does have a definition of population density, and we are translating that population density information into special guidelines. And we are considering all the existing building bylaws, and we do have some assumptions from those building bylaws and the guidelines, as mentioned. So, considering all of it, we are proposing some broad residential typologies, and these are in compliance with the target population for a particular district that Singapore government aims to develop as a smart district by 2050, which is called Jurong Lake District. So we developed four building footprints, uh, three of which are visible in the screen, and the fourth one is essentially a variation of the first one. So the first one is a rectangular shape. We have two height variations for that. Similarly, for another H or I shaped building, and there is a plus or X shaped building. And the fourth type is essentially a variation of the first one, as I already mentioned. But for that, the bottom 5 stories are going to be dedicated for the mixed use purposes. So we have two height variations. The first one is 120-meter, which is approximately 40 stories, and the second one is 100-meter, which is approximately 30 stories. So, as I mentioned, this particular area called Jurong Lake District is going to be developed as a smart district, and we considered a portion of land from that district for our study. So, once we have the building footprints ready, we are putting that within the parcel of land that we chose for our case study, and we are retaining all the existing vegetation in that site, and we are developing a total of 8 different hypothetical site options like this. As I mentioned, we have four building types and we have two height differences, like height variations. So a total of eight special options. As you can see, these are the options. These are basically the area input file in NVMet, which gives you a broad idea of how the 3D structure of the hypothetical sites look like. So now coming to the weather type. So we didn't really consider any seasonal data. Instead, we considered the annual weather data and we classified that into different weather types. So as you can see, we have seven weather types obtained for this particular district, and we used each of these weather types to run simulation for all those eight special options. So we have information about air temperature, relative humidity, and we also have information about the octa value, which is like the cloud cover, wind direction, wind speed, as well as solar adjusting factor, and soil temperature and moisture. So we ran 56 NVMet simulations for a duration of 23 hours between 12 a.m. to 11 p.m. The first 9 hours were used as the initial spin-off time to stabilize the model, and we didn't consider this data. We considered the data between 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. We used most of the default material for the building typologies, whereas we used loamy soil for Singapore conditions, and vegetations are modeled after some of the data obtained from the National Parks Board. And for each of the sites we have eight different points, and our output data was extracted at 1.4 meter height for three variables, that are air temperature, mean radiant temperature, and physiological equivalent temperature, that is the thermal comfort index. So, simulation results in general show like a broad trend of how the sites are performing. So, if we look into the details of the simulation results, for example, let's first talk about air temperature. So, air temperature generally rises between 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then further it reaches a peak between 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., which is the solar noon in Singapore, and it again starts to decrease between 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So we cannot really see a huge variation in the change of air temperature throughout this duration. Whereas for mean radiant temperature, it increases by 10 to 14 degrees centigrade between 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it reaches a peak at 12 p.m. and remains almost constant between 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. and then starts to decrease after that. And almost similar trend can be observed for physiological equivalent temperature, or PET. So we used something interesting. We used the concept of outdoor thermal comfort autonomy. So this gives us idea about what is the percentage of occupied time a particular space is capable of providing thermal comfort without any active or passive measures. So that means if I'm considering the data between 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. for 10 hourly variation, how many number of hours this particular space is capable of providing you thermal comfort within an acceptable range without any active or passive intervention. So, in order to comply with the thermal comfort acceptable range, we considered an already published article by Heng and Chow, which shows that thermal comfort acceptable range in Singapore is within 21.6 to 31.6 degrees centigrade, and in compliance with that, we considered 21 degrees centigrade to 32 degrees centigrade as the comfortable or acceptable threshold range for Singapore. So we performed this for all the sites, and this was done for all the weather categories that I already mentioned. So as you can see, uh, some of the building shapes are capable of providing the acceptable thermal comfort range throughout the day, but some shapes are consistently performing poor. Weather type 4 is the coolest weather variation, and it's capable of providing comfort for all points. If we look into the result, in majority of the cases, deep canyons are performing relatively poor than the shallow canyons, owing to the wind direction and the trapped heat inside, because these are high-rise buildings, and for a lot of these cases, the orientation of buildings are placed in a manner where they are probably blocking the incoming wind within the site. And some of the receptors closer to the vegetated and the shaded areas are cooler compared to the open areas which are completely exposed to the sun. So to sum up, we found that radiative heat exchange is the most important factor that is impacting the outdoor thermal comfort than any other microclimatic variables. And it's especially important for a low latitude city like Singapore, where the sun angle is really high throughout the day, and mutual shading can ensure outdoor thermal comfort in one such case. And how we can obtain the mutual shading by, of course, placing the buildings in a manner where it's capable of providing the shading with respect to its height and the position, shape, as well as the orientation. And our results also show that the direction of wind flow is important with respect to the site, because if a stagnation of wind flow is happening within the street canyon, that's providing thermal discomfort. And since we talked about different building height for similar shape, it's also important to understand that in our case, the taller buildings were narrower, but in order to include those many people, like a particular building has a particular occupancy. So if I want to include those many people into another building, which is shorter in height, I probably need wider surface area. So, in our case, we have all the A options as taller and narrower, and all the B options as shorter as well as wider. So, all the options performed poorly, whereas all the A options performed better compared to the B options. And looking into the shapes, so the rectangular shape performed better compared to any other notched or chamfered cases. Like rectangular one performed better than H shape, and H shape performed better than X shaped. I'm just going back to give the context of the shape. If you see the insert image, you will be able to understand what I'm talking about. So this research is also, like, we are trying to publish this, and a manuscript is in progress. And this is important because this is providing an idea of how to combine the spatial and the climatic design approach together, as well as this provides idea of how to develop a heat responsive site planning. And we are also using the concept of outdoor thermal comfort autonomy for the overall assessment of thermal comfort throughout the day, which takes into account both spatial as well as temporal variation. So this work is part of the Cooling Singapore initiative, as I already mentioned. Um, that's all from my side. Thank you for your patience and time. Um, Thank you. That's it.
Time for questions.